Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Jay from Unfair Sports on with us. Jay, thanks for coming on. The committee just dropped their rankings, like right as we were setting up to record this thing. Oklahoma in a spot where if they win out, they're in. But man, it starts this weekend in Tuscaloosa. How you doing, bud?
Man, I'm pretty good. TJ, thank you for having me, man. It's been wild. Like I said, I've been going through the committees, rankings, and stuff, and trying to get a better understanding of what the heck is going on. But yeah, it's some wild stuff. So yeah, win and you're in.
It all starts this weekend with Alabama, and I don't want to pretend like this is an Alabama preview, so I don't want to look ahead. But we're not playing on Saturday, so we can look ahead for a moment. I know that the team can't do this, but it feels like if Oklahoma was able to get this one, like it does feel like they'd have a really good shot to win their last two. I don't want to pretend like the Missouri or LSU games would be easy. Those programs deal with injuries, transition, coaching. What do they have left to play for other than spoiler? It feels like Oklahoma would have a pretty good chance. Again, you'd have to take care of business this week, but it does feel like it sets up well if you could just get this one.
Yeah, this is the game that Oklahoma needs most if they want to have a push for the college football playoffs. And the funny thing is that even for Bama, like I know that Bama fans don't want to hear this at all. You lose this game, you're probably still in too. Because I don't think you lose the last two games, which includes Auburn, who's also, lost their head coach. It's a rivalry game, so anything weird can happen, and they do a very good job of knocking teams named Alabama out of a contention of championships because it's a rivalry. But that's kind of the thing for Oklahoma in this game as well. It's really going to hinge on how well they play in this one to determine the rest of them. Like Missouri, the good and bad for Oklahoma in this game is Missouri has a solid defense, but they're playing a true freshman quarterback. And he looked like one in his first start. And we know what Brent Venables does to true freshman quarterbacks. Go look at Bryce Underwood. You watch that game against Michigan. Even when you have a strong run game and a very good trenches, Oklahoma figures that out. LSU, they just benched Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah. And I don't think that there's a redemption arc there whatsoever, even though he became the Winter Soldier when he played against us last year. He took a shot to the arm, went out, took another shot on the sidelines, and became like one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen play. So with that being said, Oklahoma has an opportunity here. So it's going to, like I said, it starts in Tuscaloosa. And like I said, we're Bama fans. I know you don't want to hear it, but, this loss isn't detrimental to you all. And you want to win it because you want to have, a top 4 seed. But this loss doesn't kill you. This loss, depending on how close it is, you're still a top 10 team, and you're definitely going to make the playoffs. I don't think anybody else around you is going to be able to survive in the rankings. Heck, you may not even drop more than like 4 spots. You may be top 8 with Oklahoma being right there with you at like 7. Yeah. So I could totally see that happening too.
On this game, listen, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Bama and the way that they've gotten through really an insanely tough schedule. When you look at starting with Georgia and then all the games that they've played, Tennessee, Vandy, on the road at South Carolina, they had to play on the road at Missouri. They also they've had a tough road. And then they have this one against Oklahoma too. They have not been at LSU last week. They've not been overly impressive offensively the last 2 weeks. And I'm not taking shots at Bama. I think they're one of the best. I think they very much deserve their top 4 ranking right now. Yeah. I have so I'm taking a shot at Bama, but also I think they're top 4. Right. So I'm not taking a huge shot. So their fans don't come after me. Go after Jay on Unfair Sports if you want to take a shot. So this isn't a Bama shot, but their offense, I think their fans would even admit their offense the last 2 weeks has not been great by any means.
At the Bama standard, right.
LSU's got a good defense. South Carolina has a very talented defense. I don't know that I'd call that like a great defense, but it is on the road in conference. They'll get a test from what might be the best defense in the SEC this week. And if their offense hasn't figured something out in this week, it will be challenging for them again. And, we think back to the way that this game went down last year. Now, I think Bama's got a much better offense this year than they did last year with, a running back running things for them at QB last year. But just it feels like a matchup that I don't want to say would favor Oklahoma, because I don't know how many teams go into Tuscaloosa and you say, oh, well, this matchup, but man, it doesn't set up as terribly as maybe I thought it did for Oklahoma 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have said to me too, is that this matchup doesn't look as detrimental for Oklahoma as it did. Mainly, I think it's because of what happened last year. Last year, it was literally one of those games where you thought Oklahoma was just dead in the water, and you're like, yeah, there's no chance they're going to compete in this game. And then they go out there and they muscle their way around it. Now, I do expect for Alabama to recognize that they're actually going against a quarterback who confidence is coming back, who can throw the ball, and a run game that is starting to show that it can do it. I mean, you've gotten 2 straight 100-yard games out of Xavier Robinson, who was the dude that kind of cooked Bama last year. So they're not going to go into this game and play it lightly. They're not going to pretend like Oklahoma isn't a squad that's going to be a challenge for them. So they'll be prepared. I see this game turning out like the Georgia game was earlier this season. I think Ty Simpson's going to go out there and throw darts like he has before. I think that John Mateer is going to be kind of like Gunnar Stockton and really do a good job of moving the ball around as needed. And I think that Xavier Robinson's going to get his 100 yards in this game. I think it's going to be just like that matchup. But I'm hoping that Oklahoma flips that score to where instead of it being 24-21, you win like 23-20. Get a game-winning field goal. Let Tate Sandell go out there and put that leg to work, even in his little shorts. You got to let him go out there and make the magic happen. But if I'm really, truly being honest on this one, I think that, like you mentioned, this is a matchup that's going to be a lot tougher for Bama than maybe some of their fans even want to admit to. I've had some of their fans already jump in my comments and say, oh, last year was a fluke. There's no chance that happens again. I'm just like, okay, sure. If you want to believe that, totally understand it. But that's the one thing that Brent Venables has done with this team is they built a team that's all about being physical. And physicality is critical, and I think that physicality is going to show in this game.
I will get right back to the video, but first let me give some love to our friends over at Sleeper. We've told you all season, you need to be on the Sleeper app, whether you're checking scores, whether you're playing the more or less game to make some money with us on the Power 2 on Wednesdays. Get over to the Sleeper app right now. Use our code CFA for a 100% match up to $100. Terms and conditions apply, so check their terms of use for more details. The Sleeper app is where you need to be as this college football season wraps up, and the Power 2 is where you need to be so that you make some money with us on Wednesdays live at noon. Yeah, again, if it really, just the way the teams have looked the last couple of weeks, like that's my biggest take. Well, obviously Oklahoma's on the bye, but just the way that Bama's offense, if this was Bama's offense, I'm talking like even just 3 weeks ago when they just crushed, went on the road to Missouri and had a pretty good offensive game, when they crushed Tennessee by scoring 1 million points. Like, just if it was those things, I think I'd have more confidence, but they just haven't looked great the last 2 weeks offensively. And maybe that changes. Maybe it doesn't. But if it doesn't, then I think they're in trouble against a defense that can be suffocating. Oklahoma, we were all saying that Oklahoma, after that Ole Miss game, we all thought Oklahoma had a chance to just kind of mail it in, right? And who knows what you would get out of them past it. And now they've only played one game, right, since the Ole Miss game. Is that right? And so
yeah,
it's just the one performance where they got a really nice win in a must-win situation. But, man, I don't know. I do wonder a little bit about, I ask this anytime there's somebody that's somewhat mobile. Bama doesn't run the ball super, super efficiently when they have a pretty good game with Jam Miller. Certainly it helps what they do. But the quarterback run is, I think, something you look at, and then certainly getting after him. He's a different quarterback when you're able to put pressure on him, when he's able to have time to find Bernard or Williams or any of these guys. He's a guy that can just absolutely slice and dice you at some points, like we saw. Chambliss had a nice game when Ole Miss came to town. So I do think the pressure that they're able to put on him, or the lack thereof, will be a big determining factor in this one.
Yeah, Ty Simpson is a surgeon when it comes to throwing the ball. He makes really good decisions. He's very efficient with the way that he plays quarterback. And I guess you can feel the Ryan Grubness in this now that he's the offensive coordinator coming over there. This team, to me, feels like Washington 2020, was it 2023?
3, yeah.
This really feels like that team that went to the national championship because they weren't very strong at running, but they had a good running back. Dylan Johnson wasn't awful. They just weren't a very big time run team. In the last few games, it was not a lot of running. It was more Michael Penix going out there hitting those elite wide receivers. And I'm not going to say the receivers did the work for Penix. He still had to get them the ball, and he did a really good job of throwing darts and not really turning the ball over. Ty Simpson, similar to that. To me, they don't really have much of a running game, and it's just been a struggle this year, period. Oklahoma started the year off bad, but then they've started to see growth in that run game. Plus, they've also made adjustments on the offensive line. You got 2 tackles who are true freshmen who looks like they're about healthy as you need them to be, Ryan Fogier and Michael Fasusi. You brought in a left guard in Eddie Pierre-Louis, he's a redshirt freshman, but he's really nasty. He's got a lot of grind in him. He's going to start pushing people around, and he likes to fall and fall down when he knocks you over and get the pancake. He loves pancakes. The dude loves some slapjacks. That's his thing. Some flapjacks. So with that being said, Oklahoma, it feels like the run game is starting to finally show some life. Xavier Robinson, back-to-back 100-yard games. And again, this was the running back that did damage to Alabama last year. Now, Bama shouldn't come into this game with a 3-3-5, even though the one thing that you do have to fear in this one is that John Mateer, similar to Jackson Arnold last year, will run the ball in design runs as a quarterback. He looked confident. That knee looked confident against Tennessee in the second half where he was scrambling all over the place. I think he finished the game with 80 yards rushing. So he's going to run, but he's also going to throw it. He's going to sit there comfortable in the pocket, and he's going to throw some darts as well. Now, granted, the big difference between the two is John Mateer will turn the ball over. He's going to throw an interception most likely in this game. The question is, will it be one of those that'll be detrimental, in which the good thing is he hasn't thrown any picks that have been detrimental to the team so far. Like the Texas ones were bad, but they weren't ones that just completely changed the game. They were like at the end of quarters or in the half, and it was like that was just your chance of scoring before. It weren't that type of detrimental, but because your defense was able to back you up. That's going to be the key thing. I think Oklahoma's going to lean heavy in the run game and heavy in the defense to try to win this bad boy.
I wonder, you mentioned offensively. How do you think they match up? I know that they are running the ball better, but just thoughts on the matchup with Bama's defense, which, I'll give Bama's defense some slack, or Bama's offense some slack the last couple of weeks, but their defense has been good. Now, again, Nussmeier benched. We've seen South Carolina struggle offensively. I don't want to, give them the trophy right now for, the last 2 weeks, but their defense has been good. And I do think it's come a long way since that week 1 game for sure. Is it a game where Mateer can have a nice day running the ball? We saw Castellanos have some success running the ball against them early in the year. I don't know that he's as fast as Tommy, but maybe a little bit better of a passer. So, what you lose, you gain somewhere else. But just thoughts offensively, how Oklahoma will attack. I know you said running the ball, but what else they can do with Mateer specifically?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of giving the ball to Xavier Robinson, establishing the game from there. And to me, that's going to be the secret and the recipe to get you a potential W in this game. Clock control, running the ball, getting first downs on a consistent basis. And I think John Mateer is going to try for a few deep passes here or there. Right now, Alabama has a corner out there that's a true freshman that they're probably going to, Dijon he's 6'4". He's a freaking giant. So he's not someone that I want you to play around with, a 6'4", 6'5" corner. But Dijon Lee is a true freshman. So you may try to pick at him a little bit with a veteran wide receiver throwing some good routes, make him have to chase him down and try to get as many pass interference as possible. But shoot, Bama's going to do the same thing to our freshman corner, Cortland Guillory. He's going to push to do a whole bunch of forcing him as well and going deep plays or whatnot, right? And trying to make him get those defensive pass interferences. But on that note, I can see Oklahoma focusing on the run game, getting John Mateer in rhythm with, play on the inside, because I think Bama's secondary is one of the better ones we've seen this year, up there with Texas. And so because of that, take advantage of and push at that front seven. I don't think their front seven is as strong as historically. They're not bad. They're just not as strong. Like, you're used to the front seven at Bama just being just monsters. I just think that they're terrifying beasts. They're just not monsters that we're used to or whatnot. And so if Oklahoma can be consistent there, I think that they can do a good job of controlling the clock and winning.
It feels like kind of a low-scoring, grinded-out game either way. Like, I don't see either one of these teams going, like, well above 30. And even that would be maybe a little higher than my anticipation for this. Like, could I see a 31-28 game? Sure, man. Football's weird. And sometimes you have shot plays or explosive plays in special teams or just different things that elevate a score more. But this very much feels like it could go to halftime 13-10. Both teams very much want to rely on well, no, I think Alabama would like to open it up. I just don't know if they'll be able to. Like, I don't know that I see a team putting 30 on Oklahoma's defense right now. Now, at the same time, if Bama puts up 27, am I confident that Oklahoma can go on the road and score more than 27 against an Alabama defense? I mean, not especially. I think if this game is played in the low 20s, that very much favors Oklahoma, and they've got a great chance to go win it. Once you get up closer to that 30 number, that's where I think, am I really, really confident that Oklahoma's offense can put up that many points? I don't know. So, but it does feel like kind of a low scoring, grinded out game for both sides for me.
No, I don't disagree with you there at all. I mean, we haven't shown you all that we can do that. Luckily, last week we gave you a glimpse of when the offense is clicking. We're able to score 3 touchdowns in SEC play. So, and Tennessee's defense isn't god awful. They don't give. I mean, besides the Georgia game, well, they've given up kind of 30 points on a consistent basis. They've given up 30 points to every team in the SEC so far this year. So it's not like we did it against someone that doesn't give it up. Tennessee's defense has got a lot of things to improve on, but we've also shown that we can handle big shots from quarterbacks, right? Joey Aguilar went out there, he threw for almost 400 yards in that game, and he's really good, but we were able to get turnovers, which is going to be critical against a Ty Simpson, who's really good at taking care of the ball. We struggled against Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss mainly because Lane Kiffin changed his entire game plan. He didn't play tempo. It's not something you're used to when you're an aggressive defense, but you kind of got to turn that aggressiveness down when you're playing in the rain. That's usually what happens to you. If you're super aggressive and you do that in the rain, you're going to slip and fall a lot. Granted, Ole Miss was playing in the same weather, but Ole Miss took their time. If you notice, they huddled all the way up until they needed to actually disperse, and they made you have to go just moving around a lot more than you really want to after the play has been, after the formation has been set. So Oklahoma, luckily so far, weather-wise, knock on wood, it should be solid, and I think Oklahoma can pull this out in a very close game.
I asked my Tennessee guy about this the week of the Tennessee game. I know that's been 2 weeks, and so we're talking about Bama and stuff, but I almost wondered if Heupel should try and do what Lane did. And it's kind of the mix of like, do you want to do what you know better, or do you want to stray away from that? And so there's really no wrong answer. It's more so like, what do you think will work for you in this moment? But yeah, that was an interesting kind of like, Lane just gave you the blueprint of how to do this, and you didn't take it. Right now they score, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe execution is all that would have mattered. But anyway, like that was a question I had for that one. So, all right. It is kind of early in the week. It is Tuesday, but
rude.
I'm going to ask.
I know.
Anyway.
I know. Go ahead. I know.
Listen, I'll tell you, I think I'm going Bama 28-27. I think I'm going with like an absolute thriller, a classic, but I'm rolling with Bama here.
Okay.
But I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I think Oklahoma really can do this. Like, I think this is just okay. So I'm not trying to be a politician here, but I guess I am. I just 100%. Truly think this is a matchup that is just, Oklahoma's coming off the bye. They just went into winning in Knoxville.
Emotional win.
They got the time off from that. Bama just played LSU in a game that was a 1-score game halfway through the fourth. Like, I know they pulled away late, but I think this is a matchup problem for Alabama. And I'm not saying that is the only, I'm leaning Bama here, but I certainly could see this going the other way. But anyway, I'll shut up. Since I asked.
No problem. And I get you. I don't disagree with you there on this being a game that's kind of tough to choose. Oklahoma has shown us that they can go out there and win games. They can go out there and win tough games. They can win close games. They've been able to close in some. They've been able to go on the road and win games in the SEC. I mean, South Carolina gave you enough to lead you to the Tennessee game of, they were able to do that as well. Now, Brent Venables is 4-1 off of bye week so far in his coaching career. And so there's a good chance that he can go out there and do it again. Remember, Bama last year was off of, it was one of those games where you didn't think it was going to happen. It did. So I digress on that. I'm going to go with Oklahoma on this one. I've already done one before. I'm going to do it again because I really feel like this is where the score is going to be. 23-21, Oklahoma wins in the game-winning field goal.
Love it. I love it. Jay, where can people follow you? Where can they find more of your work, your content, social media, all that stuff?
Find me at Unfair Sports here on YouTube as well as on socials, Unfair Sports TV, as well as wherever podcasts are downloaded and listen to. TJ, thanks for having your boy on.
Thanks, Jay.